Bank of England, Bank of Japan, Bank of you. I'm going to teach you how to make a bank on the blockchain. It's going to be a really, really basic explainer. Solidity 101 for beginners. I hope it helps you. See you inside. So the language you're writing in today is called Solidity. If you are a complete beginner, that's totally okay. I've written this contract to make it as simple as possible. If you're a complete beginner, there are some things that's going to be confusing. Don't worry about it. Just try to keep along. I'm going to go through all the different syntax, kind of what's happening in each thing. I'm going to give this, I'll give you the link to this in the description. So if you want to code along, you can. Yeah, let's go. The first thing I want to say is we're going to be using a program called Remix Ethereum. So this is what it looks like when you just boot it up. Okay, I haven't done anything here. Just so you know, there's a lot of stuff here. You can just delete these. You really don't need them. So I'm just going to go through and delete everything here. Delete, delete, delete. These are here for other reasons. Like if you're a more advanced Solidity developer, you'd be writing scripts, you'd be writing tests, you'd be wanting to use this prettier, which is like for making your code perfectly clean and stuff. Meme, this is an old token I wrote, chicken butt. Actually, this is from another video. So if you look through my videos, I made a meme coin. Here it is. But today, we're not going to worry about that. Let's delete that too. Delete, delete, and delete. Okay, so we have a clean working environment now. The first step would be just create a new file. Okay, we're going to call this, let's see, basic ETH bank. The name of this file is important. It doesn't have to be exactly what I told you here, but just know whatever you name this file, it should be something important. Don't just have random numbers. Okay, so here we are. Here's the working environment. I'm going to now go to the code that I gave you in the GitHub. I'm just going to copy and paste everything in. Okay, if you want to type it line by line, you can. You don't have to because I've given it to you. All right. Another thing, it's always going to say pasted code alert. This is because if you're dealing with blockchain, there's money involved. And it doesn't want you just to copy paste code from the internet like you are right now. It's not a problem for this one because this is just a tutorial, but there's some videos out there like how to make a sniper bot and things like that. Never copy paste that because usually the people that make that are scammers and they'll put like everything's good and they'll put one line of code in there that sends the money from your contract to them. Okay, and it's really hard to see all these things. So that's what it's saying. Be careful. But for this tutorial, it doesn't really matter. All right, so we have everything set up now. Let's go. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to, well, okay, let's first just go through a big picture. And I'm going to zoom in. So can I make this smaller? Oh, that's too small. Okay, let's just make it like that for now. So let's very quickly go through this. Like I've labeled here, there's kind of 3 main steps, 1, 2, 3. Each one is actually a different kind of, this one's a mapping, function. So let's go through what this basic contract does, and then I'll break down all this code. So first, the first step is it creates a place to store the bank user's balances. Okay, so this is like, if I have $10 at the bank and you have $20 at the bank, well, that information needs to be recorded somewhere, and that's what this first step is doing here. Second step, it updates the user's balance to the message value. Okay, this might be a little bit confusing, but essentially this means you are putting money in. You're depositing money. What it is doing, it is updating your balance for the money that you put in. Okay, I'll go through that later. And the final step is to withdraw. And what happens here is the person puts in the amount they want to withdraw, and then it gives it to them. Okay, so this is putting money in, this is taking money out, and this is the user balances. Okay, so let's go through this code. One more thing before we begin is this is all saying ETH, but it doesn't have to be actual Ethereum. It depends on what network you're deploying it on. Today, I don't think I'll actually deploy it. Maybe I will. We'll figure it out later. But if you deploy it on Polygon, it will be Matic, Poly. If you do this on Binance, it will be BNB. So when it says ETH, it really just means kind of the default currency for that chain. Okay, let's begin. So let's start from the very beginning. Here. You see this line at the top? You actually need this. If I delete this, it's giving me an error. You see? Warning, blah, 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 blah. It's because I no longer have my license identifier. So what this means is essentially this code right now is MIT. And MIT is anyone can use it, anyone can do anything they want with it. Okay, so if I go here, MIT, let's have a look. Where is it? MIT license has 2 yeses, MIT license, MIT. Okay, so what these are, this is a list of kind of like for copyright. Like if someone writes a piece of code, there's different types of licenses. If it's art, if it's music, the most basic general one is MIT. Where'd it go? MIT. Okay, so if you write code and you don't care people are going to take it, then you can just write MIT there. And that's what this, usually Solidity code is that by default. Okay, so anyways, very quickly, basic introduction on what this means. So whatever you wanted to set it as, you can change. I would just recommend leaving it as MIT to begin with. Next line here is this one, Pragma Solidity. Again, if I delete this, it's going to give you an error. It's going to say no warning or no version. So essentially, that's what this means. Pragma means kind of the language. Solidity is the name, and then this is the age of the language. Okay, so right now I'm using version 0.8.9. And what that really means is if I go here, you can see here compiler 0.8.2.6 or 0.26. Excuse me. So this is the version that this actual web program is using is 0.8.26. And you can see that my language is at least 9 or higher. Okay, so what you can do is you can specify ranges. For example, this is 2.6. If I say under, or if I even say equals, right? If I say equals 2.6, you can see the compiler version is different. Compiler is 26. This is because my compiler is 8.26, and I've said equal to this. In older versions of Solidity or newer versions of Solidity, they may have removed things, like certain code things you can write. They may have removed it, or they may have added it. Oftentimes I run into issues with this when I'm using other people's code, right? They say you can only use this language, and now maybe I'm using a newer version of Solidity. Okay, so it's not very complicated. Usually just throw something at the top. Like this is very common to see something like this, or even I often see this. This is kind of like a standard version, so don't worry about it too much. These are the first 2 lines of code. This all here is just comments, so it doesn't actually do anything. I put it in this bracket. So if I get rid of this, you can see there's a bunch of errors now. But if I put it in this /*, and you can see at the end here, there's another /*, that's just kind of like a comment, so it's not going to affect it. If I delete this last one, it breaks. If I delete this star, it breaks, right? So it has to be, you see, it has to be /* and then // and that would create a comment. Okay, moving on. The next part here would be the contract. This is very, very important. You can watch this. I can actually close it. So you see this open bracket and close bracket. This is where the code is held. It's like inside of this. And so I can open and close it, open and close it, open and close it. Okay, so that's the first thing you should see is these yellow brackets here. Contract means what is this thing? And in Solidity, you're always going to be dealing with contracts, right? These are smart contracts. Something else you might see here is import let. And import means you're taking it from somewhere else. You're taking a contract from somewhere else. But for today, we're writing our own contract, and you can see contract, and this is the name, Basic ETH Bank. Again, this is very, very important what you name this. It doesn't always have to match the file name, but if it does, that's easier for you to remember. So I think there's actually some other, that's not the standard way to do it, but for me, it doesn't seem to be an issue. So I always name the file, what I've named the contract, and that way I know exactly what things are. Okay, so that's the contract. So you write contract, name of the thing you're doing, and then you open with these the curly brackets, and at the end you have another curly brackets. After that, you have this mapping. Okay, so this is kind of the first thing to be a little bit confusing. So let's go through this. Mapping. Mapping is like a, I'll show you a picture. Right, so this is a mapping. It's like an array, or it's like a spreadsheet or something. You can see on the left there is one thing, on the right there's another thing, and these two are connected. So in this mapping here, we have an address and we have a unit or units, okay, unsigned integers. So first part, address, this would be like the person's wallet address, and this would be how much, whatever the number is that's connected to that, right? So in our bank, it would be this wallet address has this much money. This wallet address has this much money. This wallet address has this much money, okay? And so if we go back to the code, what I would do is I would put in, okay, my address, and then it would give me how much I have. Your address, it would give me how much you have. Vitalik Buterin's address, it would give me how much Vitalik has. Okay, so you need to put something in and it gives you something out. And that's what this is saying here, right? you put this in, and the function gives you this thing. Okay, and you can see here bank balances, right? So it's pretty clear. Another thing to note, I have a small b, big B. When you're doing, this is called a variable. When you're doing variables like this, start with a small one and a big one. Again, you don't have to do that. Like I can name this whatever I want. It doesn't break anything. But standard convention is small and big. So that's a mapping, right? It's often called a key pair, right? So this is the key, and this is the value, right? You put in the address, you get this thing back. Okay, so that's the first step. We are creating this kind of like pair, this value pair. Next, we have a function. Okay, so again, I can close this just like I closed this with the curly bracket open, curly bracket closed. I could do the same thing here because we have a curly bracket open, curly bracket closed, and I can open and close it just like that, which is really helpful when you want to keep your code clean. So I can close everything up, right? So I open this, I want to see what this function is. I want to see what this function is. Okay? So we have, so this is a function. Function means it's doing something. Okay? And in this function, what it's doing is it's updating this mapping. Okay, so again, this is the mapping, we just talked about it. And you can see here, this is the name of the mapping, and it's actually doing something with that name. This is the variable, bank balances. For this wallet address, we want to give more money. Okay, so let me clear that up because that wasn't very clear. We have the mapping. First thing you see here is a thing called msg.sender. This may look confusing, but it's actually very simple. Message sender, who the person that is using this program. If I am using the program, then it's my wallet address. If you are using the program, then it is your wallet address, right? So if I'm using the program, my address should be updated. If you are using the program, then your address should be updated. So that's what message sender means. Next, we have this plus equals. This can be a little bit confusing. I have this right here. This is a kind of a standard type of code. It's in many different languages. If you know JavaScript, it would be in JavaScript. But essentially, it's called an assignment operator. You can see here, plus equals. I'm not going to go through all of these because there's a lot of them. These are pretty basic, right? So in like high school math, you'll see less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So these are inequality operators. There's many different types. This one here, what that means is we are adding something to what it was starting with. So if I have 1, it would be, I'll go back to this. All right, so say I send like 10 ETH. Okay, so this is me, right? 50. And I send 10, then what it's going to do is it's going to plus equals to 50, which would be 60, right? Because I sent 10, now I have 60. If I send another 10, it's 10 plus equals 60, 70, right? So all it's doing is it's adding to whatever is there before. Okay, so that's the plus equals, and then message value. Okay, so we have message sender, which was the person sending it. Message value means how much is that person sending? This goes back to, we didn't really talk about this because I wanted to get to this part first, right? So message value means you are sending money. This is a payable function, which means when I call this function, I can give it money, right? I can say, hey, I'm gonna trigger this function, I'm gonna call this function, and I'm gonna give it 10. Okay, well, that would be the payable value. So the value of that would be 10. So we have a function, it's called deposit ETH. External, don't worry about that, just means anyone can access this and use this. Payable means that I can send money in, and message value means how much did I send in. So, hope that's clear. Let's just review. So first we have this mapping, which is like the bank balances. Like, okay, so who has how much? Next one is putting money in. Okay, if this person puts money in, update the amount that we have here for the value of the message. So those are the two first functions. I hope those are clear. We're going to move on to the final function, which is a little bit more complicated. Before I open it up, like right now it's closed, you can see there's no payable, which means I cannot send money to this, right? You guys probably know the word withdrawal, which means take your money out. So it is not possible for me to send money in when I do this. This one is possible because I have payable, right? Because we're depositing, I allow people to send money into this. This one here, there's no way for people to send in. So it's impossible for adding money here. But there is this thing here. Right now I want to take 10 out with this withdraw and the argument. Okay, so let's move on. Again, we have this bank balances, right? So this is the mapping. You can see it here. So what this is doing is it's creating a new variable, user balance. So this is just a temporary place. Like, okay, it wants to remember for this function here, it wants to remember how much I have to start with. So what it does is it creates a new one called user balance. And it's saying this user balance is equal to bank balances message sender. So we said before message sender is the person that's using this function. So what it's going to do is it's going to take my address and give me the amount I have, and it's going to put that as this user balance. So that means if I have 10 in my bank balances here, this is going to say how much do you have? He has 10. Okay, so user balances is equal to 10. Again, we have another operator here. This is just equals to, which means set it as that. Put this as this number. This is add it and set it at that number. This is just set it as what it is. So first step here, it's going to check the bank balances mapping. And now it's going to say how much I have. So if I go back to this image, it would say I have 50. Okay, here's my wallet address. Says, okay, you have 50 right now. Okay, you have 50 right now. First thing is going to have require. This is kind of like a security check. So the first thing is, remember I want to take out, say if I have 50 in, right? So this says I have 50, but I want to try to take out 60, right? So I want to try to, I know I have 50, but I want to take a little bit more to see if I can get out more than I have, like stealing money. Well, this is where you kind of defend against that. It's saying, okay, well, if this user balance is greater than or equal to amount, then you're okay. If it's not, then give an error. So this is kind of the check. You must, so it's saying require this to be at least equal to or greater, or sorry, less than this number. So it's just checking, like, do I have enough? Okay, so it's first requiring, does this person have enough? If yes, then continue. If no, then give an error. Okay, so it's the first kind of security check. It's called a require statement, which is very helpful. This is like, again, for security. It's also like if there's a mistake, then it'll stop here and then nothing breaks. Okay, so but if I do have enough money in the bank, then it's going to continue. And what this continuing is first it will change this. Okay, so if I want to take out, say if I have 60 in the bank, like this image here, I have 50 in the bank and I want to take out 10. Well, first what it's going to do is it's going to update this number. Before it sends me any money, it will update the record. Important that you do that way. First, always update the records before you send any money. Okay, because otherwise there's a thing called a re-entry attack where people can kind of hack the system. So all you need to know is first update the records. Before you send any money, update the records. So I have 50 here, and that's what this is going to do. So if I take out 10, it'll say, okay, well, he had 50 and he wants to take out 10. And so now update the mapping up here to change it to 40. So it's just going to update the record. Once the record is updated, oh, by the way, something you should note is the amount. This is what the number we fed in. You can see it's being reused again and again. This one too. So anyways, update the balance. Then this is kind of the most important step right here. This is where the function is actually sending the money to me. When I send the money in, it goes into this contract, right? This is a smart contract. It can hold money, and that's why it's a bank. Now I want to take the money out, and that's what's happening here. Is the contract is sending the money back. This looks very confusing. I'm not going to go through everything. One thing we can note is a bool. Remember I said it's true and false. Message sender, right? That's the person using this program. A call is called a low-level function. I'm not going to go through all of this, but what you should know is that what this is doing is sending the money. You can see here, here's the amount. So if I want 10, it's going to say, okay, to the message sender, send them 10. And it does it. And then this is a final require statement. So like I said before, it's going to require this to be successful. So it's going to say, okay, is it true that it's successful? If yes, then everything is good. If no, then go back to the start and cancel everything. So that's why these are important require statements. Okay, so that was a 20-minute video. I'm going to stop talking. I guess the last thing I can do is just very quickly show you what it looks like if you want to deploy this. So we have the code. The next step would be going over here. You compile. Okay, so it's giving me the green check, means everything's good. This is where you can choose if you want to actually put it on the blockchain. You would use MetaMask. Today, I'm just going to show you what it looks like if you do it on this kind of virtual machine here. So everything looks good. I'm going to click deploy. It says, oh, it's successful. I can show you some of that. Here's all the information. This is the contract being deployed. Okay, and the final thing I'll show you here is if you want to actually play with this, you can click these buttons here. So for example, if I want to deposit ETH, again, I can send value. So let's send something like 1,000 way. I click deposit, successful. If I want to check my wallet address, then I can click here, click, put that in here, paste, and you can see 1,000. Now I want to withdraw. Let's try it. Withdraw 1,001. Boop. Gives me a warning. See, that's the warning we had before. If I want to withdraw 999, it will actually succeed. And if I check again, I have 1. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. If you guys like the video, if you like this kind of coding tutorial, let me know, and I will make more in the future. If not, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.